Put yourself out there.
Yeah.
Self-discovery is very important. Figure out what you like, what makes you you.
Yeah.
Right? Then figure out your non-negotiables, things that you are not willing to compromise on. Figure out the things that you're like, hey, maybe I don't necessarily need this. Date intentionally.
Yes.
But also
know that every day is not going to end in wedding bells.
And we're back.
Hey, y'all.
It is episode 8.
Yes, it is.
And we are talking about a interesting topic.
It's my favorite topic, actually, to talk about, even as a married person.
Okay.
Singleness. We posted a little question box. I think that's what they call them on the gram.
Yeah, we were asking questions on Instagram. I got two questions.
Because your followers don't respect you.
Yeah, my followers don't respect me. Shout out to all two.
Really, really good questions.
Yes.
And I think some of them are a little similar, but we're going to dive into the ones that I think are just like, they're really heavy. And I think they're the most popular ones. So, you ready to just go into it?
Let's do this.
All right. So the first question was, what was your self-discovery process like while you still desired partnership? Very loaded question.
It is a very, very loaded question. Okay, for me, right? Everybody is different. Every guy is going to be different. The process is going to be different. For me, I dated somebody when I was 19. And then I had a long period of just being single while still talking to certain people and whatnot. What I will say, during that time, I discovered things that I just found joy in. I discovered that I always knew I had like an art gift and whatnot, but to really dive deep into my passions, figure out like staying up late at night painting and then figuring out like, oh shoot, I like R&B. And I don't just like R&B, like I like this particular subgenre of R&B. I like neo soul. I like all these different things. Hey, I want to be treated in this type of way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I want to be talked to in this type of way. It was also from me listening to podcasts on YouTube and realizing like, okay, these are certain qualities that I want. This is certain things I'm learning about myself. Oh, shoot. Through friendship, I learned, okay, patience is not something I have. I got to work on that.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say that it was necessarily like I got to work on this to be in a relationship. It was more so I just got to work on this because
to be in a relationship with myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's
so
good.
I think those are a few of the things that I discovered during that time. And then I just think through dating and whatnot, I discovered certain things that I would tolerate and certain things that they were just non-negotiables. I'm not going to deal with this at all.
I like that. For me, self-discovery looked a lot like serving. I think I'd mentioned in previous podcasts that during my singleness, at the height of my singleness, I served in my church a lot. So I was a Sunday school teacher. I was in the media ministry. I was doing announcements. I was also doing like our volunteer service in the community. And what I realized at that time was how selfish I was, because in those areas of serving, it was an inconvenience to my comfort. And so I had to figure out, okay, if I really want to be in a relationship, because a lot of what it takes to be in a relationship is you dying to self and you being selfless for the sake of another person.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot about how selfish I was and certain things that I would do differently or needed to do differently if I really desired to be in a strong partnership and a healthy partnership. So I served a lot. And it's one of the things that like I recommend singles to do. Serve well and serve a lot, because you'll find certain areas of yourself that you can work on while serving. It's like you find like, okay, I don't have patience for this. Okay, I'm selfish in this area. Oh, okay, I put like my voice matters the most in the room. But when you're serving, like there's no room for any of those things. So in a way, it kind of like prunes those things up to the surface so that you can like see them on the forefront, if that makes sense.
It does. And I think for those that are like listening to this and they're like serving and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Yo, serving sometimes, most times, you're doing that at your job. You know what I mean? You're doing that through your everyday living. And I would just say, I remember we were talking to like a particular friend, and I was just like, yo, enjoy your singleness, bro.
Yeah.
Like for real. Like, yes, I always desired to be married. I wanted to get out of my singleness.
Yeah.
There are parts of me that look back and I'm just like, dang, I wish I would have fully enjoyed this part of my singleness. And not even so much for the aspect of like, going out there and I'm gonna talk into this person. Just being adventurous and taking certain risks that you can do while you're single that you can't necessarily do while you're in a relationship.
I agree. I absolutely agree. One of the greatest times of my life was my singleness.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that I stopped dating completely. It was just that I was dating myself more and I was finding more of what I liked. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a couple of more questions to come, if that even made sense. But yeah, like like Neil said, maximize your singleness because when it's gone, it's gone. And while, we're happily married, but there are still certain things that I think as a single that I didn't maximize from because, like I ended up in a relationship. So, anywho, the next question is what are some red flags to look for in a guy? What are some red flags to look for in a girl? I'll start with this one. So, number one red flag for me was no salvation. Like, my partner had to be saved. And for me, that's for me personally. Now, if God has called you to be in a relationship where your partner is not saved and that is your ministry, that's your ministry. It was not my ministry. It was not.
Sir.
I dated a few guys that were not saved. And one of my like bigger relationships was with somebody that wasn't saved. And it created some strife when it came to just basic morals and principles and certain things that I was not willing to negotiate on, or certain things that I wanted to change, but would not or could not change because we didn't have the same value system and the same faith. So I said to myself, like, hey, when it's time for me to actually get married, if that was something that I desired, I would not negotiate on that part ever again. I just know. Another thing for me was, just having ambition. I think, you see guys that are saved and they're very churchy, but it's like, okay, what's your life like outside of this? What has God called you to outside of like your local church? Like, what are you doing? So having something to live for. What is your passion? What is your purpose? I think sometimes we get caught up in like the 5-year plan, the 10-year plan, what's your 20-year plan? And I think that puts us in a box because God can automatically change that. But what's the longer goal? Like I knew Neil wanted to do art full time and I knew that he was an artist and I knew that he was taking active steps to work toward that. But if he just told me like, oh, I'm an artist, but wasn't doing anything, like he didn't have like a business plan, if he didn't have like a website built up. Like when I met him, actually, I want to say how I met him was because I purchased a piece of art from him. And then the month that we started dating, like he had just created like a new clothing line and whatnot. So I was like, oh, he's actually taking like active steps to work towards this ambition, towards this dream. And he's not just saying like, oh, I'm an artist, but I make stuff in Canva.
In Canva.
So,
Shout out to Canva.
But those are my two big red flags. You had to, if you're not saved and you have no ambition, gotta go. Oh, there's another one, reciprocity, but we can talk about that later.
Okay. I think what you said goes back to self-discovery.
I agree.
There's no way that any of this happens and these doors open if I'm not going through my own self-discovery of staying up late at night, working on my craft and whatnot. And for
spending time with yourself.
Yeah, but for each person it's different, like I'm a creative. So that looks different for me when it comes from self-discovery. That looks completely different. Going back to the question though, red flags. My lord. I will say a red flag for me would be somebody that I felt like was just draining to be around.
Yeah.
Like extremely draining. And there have been people that I have met that have been like drop dead gorgeous, drop dead, and you're just like, wow. And then they open their mouth to speak words.
Oh my God.
And I'm just like, wow, there is just air coming out of your mouth right now.
Like, why do you sound like that? It's not even like, why do you sound like that? It's like, what are you saying?
It's just nothing. It's a whole lot of nothing. And I'm just like, yo, you're draining. Like, I feel exhausted right now. And we've only been talking for 2 minutes. I'm good.
like, please stop talking.
Yeah. I for me, a red flag if I can't chill with you, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I gotta be able to chill with you. You gotta be able to be my homie. Another red flag for me. This is about us, all right? So don't judge me. But I had a real big thing about eyebrows.
Oh my gosh.
I'm being for real, okay?
And he still has this red flag, y'all. And it be irking me when it's time.
You have eyebrows, though.
I know, but then like I also feel my eyebrows when it's time to go. Like, ladies, y'all know. Like, I have eyebrows. I have pretty decent eyebrows. But when you're going out and it's time for you to beat your face, you want to fill your eyebrows. Neil hates it. And there's like a rule. I totally like went against the rule because I was like, you're not gonna tell me what to do with my makeup. But he's like, yo, stop drawing your eyebrows on. Like, that's it. Don't do it. And I'm like, I'm not drawing them on. I'm filling them in.
It's just not something I like. That's the vain side of me. That's the vain red flag of me.
But I don't think it's vain. Because like, if your red flag is that you're not attracted to that person, that matters. Because if you're not attracted to your partner, it creates a roadblock in your level of intimacy.
Yeah.
So yeah, if I wasn't attracted to you, this would go very differently.
I think so. But I also, can we just say the next question? Like the non-negotiables, right? So what are some of your non-negotiables? Because I think red flags and non-negotiables they go hand in hand, right? I just think each situation is different. There are some people that date people that they don't necessarily find that attractive, but their personality is what shines to them. And that's what makes them date. For each person is different. For me, right? Jackie Hill Perry always says, like, you don't want to date somebody that looks like elbow skin.
Facts.
Look at your elbow in the mirror.
It's not very attractive.
And picture it with eyes and a nose. You're not going to date that type of person.
No.
But there's some people that like, yo, I've talked to people where they're just like, yo, if their personality is dope and I can hang with them and whatnot, looks don't matter to them. That is for them. That is not for Neil Malcolm McKnight. I'm cool on that. Right?
I think those people are lying. Because I don't know. It's very difficult for me to grasp that you could be in a relationship with somebody that you're not physically attracted to. Because physical attraction is a very important part. I think church-wise, we don't like to put an emphasis on that. But like, if I'm having sex with you, I'd like to think I'm attracted to you. I don't get how y'all have sex with people that y'all are not attracted to. Like, that just don't make sense to me.
I'm speaking for those particular people. I think that there are some times, right? So we just talked about like, there's been like girls I talk to and then they speak and I'm just like, yo, you're not attractive anymore.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't matter how cute you are, how beautiful you are, whatever. You're talking just dumbed you down all the way. Right? And I think the same effect can happen in reverse, where you can talk to somebody that you don't necessarily find like super drop dead gorgeous, but their conversation and how they talk, what they're talking about, brings their attractiveness up.
I agree to that because I think, I don't know if it was Michael Todd or I don't know. There was some sermon I was listening to and they were basically talking about how sometimes like God, your spouse isn't your type. Like God doesn't make your spouse your type. He doesn't give you what you want. He gives you what you need. That's what it was. He doesn't give you what you want. He gives you what you need.
Yeah.
And I remember, it was Michael Todd because he was saying how his wife wasn't his like type.
Yeah.
But currently he realizes like why God blessed him with his wife Natalie. And I mean, I guess I can say the same for us. Like you weren't 6 feet tall with a beard.
5'8".
5'8" on a good day.
On a good day, 5'7".
On a bad day.
On a bad day.
And I'm 5'8" and a half. So, like backstory. when I was in college, I made a list. I made 3 lists. Must-haves, would be nice, icing on the cake, right?
Yeah.
And they were very specific. And the must-haves were basically things that like I was not willing to negotiate on. So if a man didn't have these things, red flags. Now the would be nice were like, okay, sprinkle, sprinkle here, sprinkle, sprinkle there. Icing on the cake would be, okay, he was 6'5" and had a full beard and was chocolate. Neil don't meet anything besides the chocolate. He got a little something with facial hair.
I'm Patchy
on.
McGee.
It's fine. I like it now. But when I first met him, I was like, ooh, it's not the height. I can't grow no full beard that I want. But
yeah,
what he lacked in my would be nice or icing. No, what he lacked in my like icing on the cake list, he made up for in the must-haves. He met all of them. And even in the would be nice, he met like 50%, if not 75% of those. Overall, though, Neil spiritually surpassed anybody that I'd ever dated. And one thing that I was not willing to negotiate on was a man that could lead me spiritually and lead our household. If he could not pray for me, if he could not listen out for the Lord's voice and lead us in wisdom, I did not want him. Yeah. So I think we as women, I'll speak from that perspective. Sometimes we have to be willing to lay our list down for what we need instead of what we really want, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. But I think you also definitely just proved my point where like there are certain people.
But I was still attracted to you.
Yeah, but there's certain people that like that's like hard cutoffs for them. If you're not on this, if you don't have this type of height, this beard or whatever, like it's a no-go.
Yeah.
And just going back to the negotiation part and the red flag part, self-discovery. Whoever said that, asked that question, it all goes back to there. Yeah. Right? Because for us, it's going to be different. My non-negotiable is going to be different from your non-negotiables and the people that's watching as well. So I think self-discovery, you figure out certain things that you're willing to compromise on, certain things that you're like, all right, maybe I don't really need this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and I did a list as well. And
oh, did you?
I definitely did a list.
I did not know this.
Of course. I did a list in my mind and I wrote stuff down as well. But
so did I meet your list?
No, yeah, we talked about this. You definitely met my list.
I don't remember this.
Yeah. But I think there was a part of me that was like, okay, if I don't get everything on my list, it's okay. Because there's certain things that we'll like say like, dang, my girl gotta have this. Like you talking to your boys or whatever, man, my girl gotta be in the rap, son. She gotta like this, da-da-da. Yo, she gotta be able to watch this movie with me, watch the game, play video games with me, da-da-da-da. And then you realize it's just like, yo, I don't really need all that.
But I do all that except for play video games.
Except for play video games. But I also think through relationships, people can change over the years. Nicole was not for anything Marvel and still kind of isn't, but she has gone to the Marvel movies.
That's not necessarily true.
You weren't 100% for Marvel movies. And like, so even like Game of Thrones, right?
Oh my God.
You wasn't for that. But over time, you slowly
that was a waste of my energy.
That.
Season 8 sucked.
Yes.
Anywho.
But anyway, a non-negotiable now might change later on.
That's very true.
Right?
That's
now, I think there are certain toxic non-negotiables where there's like a hard cut off where, bro, don't wait for her to grow. Let her grow on her own.
Yeah.
Don't wait for him to grow. Let him grow on his own. And then if you decide to approach this situation, you could do that.
I like that. That kind of reminds me of like one of the things I had mentioned, I think in a previous conversation, where when I was dating in like the height of my 20s, I was a potential people lover. So I would fall for men that had great potential, but weren't doing anything, working towards, like I said before, that ambition. So I would stay with them in hopes that I could change them, in hopes that I could help them grow into this potential. And it was exhausting. Yeah. And it would create a lot of strife and tension in those relationships. So if you find yourself compromising for the sake of somebody's potential, it's not it. That should be a non-negotiable off rip. All right. Next question. How did you get out of your comfort zone of being alone and start putting yourself out there?
I will answer this one.
Okay.
Because that was me in 2019. I talked about how I had a fear of kind of like just missing out and dealing with a lot of regret, and through self-discovery and reflection, I was just like, yo, like 2019, I really wanted it to be my year. A lot had happened in 2018, and I just kind of just wanted to put myself out there and start dating, start talking to people that I probably wouldn't have spoken to before because I might have thought like, yo, I'll never get them and whatnot. So I just started talking to whoever, you know what I mean? Now there were good situations from that, and they were definitely bad situations that I should have probably vetted 100%. But you kind of, if marriage is your desire and a relationship is your desire, and you're allowing yourself to kind of just sit in the background and kind of wait for life to just happen for you, then shorty, baby, you finna miss out.
Yeah.
And that's the real thing. I think Disney has tricked us all into believing that there is going to be this perfect person that we're going to run into in the grocery store.
Or they're going to magically show up at your front door.
And it's not going to happen. Like we talked about in the last episode, open your DMs, right? Open your DMs, but definitely vet your DMs.
Yeah.
If you see something that you ain't liking and you like, don't do it. But yeah, I think self-discovery will put you in that place of realizing, okay, like I'm ready to date. I'm ready to put myself out there.
Yeah.
These are certain things I'm looking for. And I think the thing with dating that I'll say people that are saved sometimes get messed up. Every person that you go out on a date with is not supposed to be your husband, right?
Or your
wife, right? Yes, you have a desire to be married. Yes, you have a desire to have kids and all that type of stuff. But my guy, have fun, right? Have a conversation. Go out. Take them out on a dope place. Just have a dope
take them out on a dope place.
Yeah.
Take them out on a dope place.
Take them out to a dope place. Your mother. But yeah, like everything doesn't have to be so serious.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I definitely think date with intention, right? But just because it's a great date, don't think, okay, man,
you're gonna marry.
Yeah, you're about to marry this person tomorrow, and our next conversation is gonna be like, so what should we name our kids?
Right.
Like,
Pace yourself.
Yeah. Take your time.
I agree. To just kind of piggyback off of that, I was reading this book once. I think it's called Dear Woman by some poet. And they were basically saying how all of us should be throwing ourselves a party, right? They compared dating to like, or not even dating, but like the process of going from singleness to dating to marriage as throwing yourself a party. So you should be actively throwing yourself a party. And you should find things that you enjoy and add them to your party. So for me, I know I like seltzer water. If there's not seltzer water at the party, I'm not going. But at my party, there will always be seltzer water. Always, right? And then he went on to say, if the person that is interested in you or the person that you are interested in is not throwing a party that's either better than yours that you want to go to, or if they're not bringing something to your party that will really add significance, do not allow them into your party. Like, just do not. And I think that speaks volumes because a lot of times, like I said, we'll compromise on our non-negotiables for the sake of potential. And it'll just be like, oh, because I want to be in a relationship. And you can desire a relationship, you can, but I think, compromising on those negotiables will impact the long term. It'll impact your trajectory. So if there's anything I can say about getting out of your comfort zone, don't until the party that you're interested in is even more impactful than the party that you're throwing for yourself. And as far as throwing yourself out there and putting yourself out there more, go to spaces that you normally wouldn't. Like I was comfortable going to the same like places in a 5-block radius for a very long time.
That's good.
And it wasn't until I started branching out of that space that I started to meet other people. So sometimes traveling out of the state to go to events that you might be interested in will help. Networking opportunities or just like going out. I was an introvert and sometimes going to spaces by myself was like the nightmare. It was hell on earth for me. But one of the things that I'm most proud of that I did for myself in my singleness was I took myself to a concert. I took myself to go see Lucky Day in October of 2019. And actually, I was talking to Neil at this time, and he thought I was going with a guy. And then I told him, I was like, no, I took myself. And it was the best experience I had. I dressed up. I bought myself food and everything. I had the time of my life. Honestly, it was probably one of the best experiences ever in my life.
Yeah.
Including with other people that I had. So yeah, I would say until somebody can add more and just improve the party that you are throwing, don't take yourself out of that comfort zone. And if you are ready to take yourself out of that comfort zone, then really mean it and do something different that you're not used to doing. Next one. How did you manage loneliness and the reality that love may never come? This one's a good one.
Oof.
This one's a really good one. Honestly, I think being honest. Be honest that you are not content and be honest that you're lonely. I think something that is often pushed onto singles is that, oh my gosh, you need to be content and you have to be content. Contentment doesn't always look pretty. Contentment doesn't always look like you won't experience loneliness in your singleness. You will. There are times you experience loneliness in your marriage. So, and it's not because it doesn't have to be like a weird thing. Like for me, I've experienced loneliness in our marriage like overnight because Neil works an overnight shift.
Yeah.
And it's hard at times. So if I ignored that, I would totally be denying a very real emotion. And then in me denying it, it could create some kind of toxic behavior later on down the line. Yeah. So I think that we have to be honest with how we feel. Don't always act on those feelings, but be rational about it and say, how can I tackle them? So yeah, if you're lonely in your singleness, acknowledge it. That's something that worked for me. I acknowledged when I was lonely. And instead of running to the next person or running to text someone or even running to invite over a friend to just help me cope with that, I would figure out things that I enjoyed to do to love things that I enjoyed doing that would help me love myself a little harder in those moments.
Yeah. I think what you said makes sense. Like, you're going to experience loneliness. I think if you're trying to run away from that feeling, then you're not truly dealing with your real emotions that you have.
Right.
I think so many times that we try to run away from that instead of just experiencing what it is. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Valentine's Day coming up, you being on Instagram, seeing couples and people getting gifts and stuff like that, you're going to experience some bit of jealousy, grief, jealousy, whatever. You're going to experience that. But I would say go through it. Mm-hmm. Like, I definitely would feel that during the holidays. You know what I mean? Like, I would see people in relationships, see this person get engaged, this person get in a relationship, and you just start feeling like, dang, what's wrong with me?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, why? God, what's up? Like, when am I going to find my person and whatnot? But I think what you said makes sense. You said figuring out things that you like.
Yeah.
Figuring out things that you like, and not always feeling the need to, I guess, run to people. Mm-hmm. Accountability is important and whatnot, but I think if you always have this desire of like, dang, I'm feeling low right now.
And I need to be around.
Yeah, I need to be around people. Or you put yourself in this weird situation where it's like, all right, I'm feeling lonely. I need to have my person and whatnot. And then you start talking to people that you shouldn't necessarily be talking to.
Yes.
And that was me. I put myself in situations that I did not need to put myself in. Mm-hmm. And it was because of loneliness, because I was alone, because I was sad. And there were times I didn't deal with my depression that can come from loneliness and whatnot. So I think I would say definitely figure out the things that you love during that time. Don't run away from your emotions. Feel every bit of your emotion that you're going through. And you don't need to hit up that person.
Yeah, don't make hasty decisions in loneliness, because not only can we end up in situations that we don't belong into, but it can really be a detriment to that season.
Yeah.
And there are literally consequences to everything. So if there's anything that I could recommend when it has to do with loneliness, is do not make a hasty decision out of loneliness. Do not end up in a relationship or a situationship that good and darn well you do not need to be in, because it can end in a whole bunch of other trauma and strife. There was another part to that question that I kind of want to touch on too. How do you manage the reality that love may never come? Love is always around us. I think it's just how we define it, and how we're willing to accept it and acknowledge it. So for me, there was a point in my singleness before I became really comfortable with it that I was just like, what if God doesn't want me to get married? Like, how do I feel about that? Like, what if he's called me to a life of singleness? And at first, I was sad about it. I was really sad about it, but I had to think about why I was sad about it. And I was sad because there was a part of me that felt like I wouldn't be complete until I was married or until I was in a relationship with somebody long term. And I had to deal with that. So I started going to therapy to kind of understand the layers of that and what led me to that space where I felt like I wasn't complete if I wasn't in a marriage or a relationship. So yeah, I would say that there is never going to be a reality where love isn't for you or it will never come. Love is around you. It's just how you define it. Now, is there a reality that you may be single for the rest of your life? Yes. That is something we could talk about at a later time because I think that deserves a little bit more massage and depth. But yeah, love is always around you. You just have to be open to it and not be willing to put everything in a box, if that makes
sense. No, that's 100%.
This next one's my favorite question, which you can answer because I cannot answer this question.
Okay. Tips on sliding into a stranger's DMs.
I have never done this.
Hi, my name is Neil Malcolm. Good night. I think we have to give way to the reality that also because of COVID, right? I've heard from friends that the dating market right now is trash. Very ghetto. Anybody that I've talked to that is single and is my friend has told me like, Neil, you're lucky you got out. It's trash out here. So I want to enter this conversation with some grace, right? For both sides, men and women. Instagram and Twitter and TikTok and all these things and whatnot does give you brief glimpses into certain people that you might be interested in.
Yes.
Right? Sometimes you can see your non-negotiables through IG, through media and social media and whatnot, right? So when it pertains to Nicole, when I was looking at her, right, I knew that I wanted somebody that was caring, that was passionate, right? And I saw glimpses of that through Nicole's IG. And there were certain things that I saw and I was like, okay, this is something that I want. Or whether that be you posting like a scripture on your IG or your story or whatever, like that was something I did want, right? You can slide into the DMs, right? Yeah. But you are not going to get the full perspective of that person. I definitely think DMs do give you that leeway into starting a date and whatnot.
Starting a dialogue.
Yeah, starting a dialogue. And you never know what can happen from there. I knew with Nicole, I started off very like slow where I was just like, yo, maybe we can grab like coffee or something like that. Right? Because I know you said there were not, but I know for most women, there are guys in their DMs that is like, dang, baby, I would treat you right. Like
red flag,
non-negotiable. Right? And they're talking all crazy. So for guys, like you have to figure out your own strategy for going into this particular woman's DMs that you're trying to get into.
Yeah.
So
take it slow. Fellas, take it slow. Approach her respectfully. Even find something that you saw on her Instagram or however way you found her and point it out and be like, hey, like I saw this and I really like this. It drew me to you or whatever the case may be. I've had people say that. I'm like, oh, interesting. Okay. So yeah, if you find an interest that you have that she also has, go from there, start a conversation that way. And then, continue to be consistent a little bit and then ask, if she would like to meet you in person. This may sound controversial, but ladies, I'm going to also advise that you slide in your DMs into DMs as well. Here's why I say this. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Okay? So I'm not saying pursue him, but I'm saying if you see a fella that you like, you're over there, and you're like, dang.
Okay.
Shorty fine. He should be mine. He's looking like Zaddy. And he got good fruit. Go slide in
Okay,
his
there we go.
DMs.
There we go. Tie it back in.
Yes.
And he got good fruit.
He has good fruit. Go slide in his DMs.
Okay.
Again, find something that you both have in common and interest and go from there. And then let him take control of the conversation. Let him pursue you. The ball should be in his court after that. Now, if he's no longer pursuing you or doesn't actually get the move or get the hint, move on. But yeah, I advise women to also take a chance in sliding in to a guy's DMs too.
I'll throw my own question in there. Sorry. But when should a woman, right, just stop communicating with a guy if the DMs conversation is lasting a little bit too long? Like when for you would be a cutoff point for you to just be like, okay, this guy is not serious. He's not interested. I'm good.
If after a month he hasn't asked you for your number or asked you on a date, end communication. Respectfully end communication.
Yeah.
Because sis, you're not looking for a friend. You're looking for a potential mate. So yeah, no.
Yeah, he playing games.
Exactly. All right, next question was, that's another one of my favorite ones. Where do you find good men outside of dating apps? Neil, you got any friends?
I'll start with the last question. I got friends. A lot of my friends are married now.
Yeah.
They out the game. They is retired. Yeah, I got some friends. Hit me up.
No, his friends are not ready. If they're not married, they're not ready for it. Don't hit him up, please.
Anyway.
What hit you up if they're ready?
Anyway, what was the question again?
Where do you find good men outside of dating apps?
Man. I'll say this. I think it all depends on the things that you like, right? And you talked about going to places that you enjoy and whatnot. You're not going to find a spouse for real.
On Tinder or Bumble.
Well, you could, but you're not going to find a spouse for real in a ratchet club. Like, you're not.
That's true, too.
That's not going to happen for you.
Yeah.
Like, and if it does, yo, God bless.
It happens. A lot of our parents met that way. Not our parents, but.
Anyway.
Yeah. Some of y'all's parents.
I just think it depends on going to the places that you enjoy.
Yeah.
Right? Some people enjoy reading books, so they go to Barnes and Nobles and whatnot. Like, just figure out, yo, what do you like? You know what I mean? And then go on from there. Some of us, like, go to church and whatnot, but they don't want to talk to nobody at their church.
After church, yeah. So I would say, like, the spaces that you are familiar with, use those as your scoping ground and be aggressive and productive in those spaces to communicate and connect with people. I would also say when you branch out and you do other things that you may not be used to, but that are out of the 5-block radius of where you live, also be aggressive and productive in those spaces. Make the most out of the time that you are out. Yeah. And connect with people. Even set a goal. Like if you talk to one person at one event, the first time you go out, get a number, even if you don't get a number, get a social media handle. Then the next time say, okay, maybe I'll talk to 2 people and I'll get their handles. Okay, maybe I'll do, a number this time. Set goals for yourself. I think sometimes we just go in and expect somebody to come to us. No, have a goal in mind. Yeah. Be intentional about your connection. COVID made us a little wonky when it came to connection. So we got to redo this, how we do life with people. Yeah. So, yeah.
I would just say to end this, put yourself out there. Yeah. Self-discovery is very important. Figure out what you like, what makes you you. Yeah. Right? Then figure out your non-negotiables, things that you are not willing to compromise on. Figure out the things that you're like, hey, maybe I don't necessarily need this. Date intentionally. Yes. But also
know that every day is not going to end in wedding vows. Anywho, I enjoyed this episode. I liked answering you guys' questions. I think we were planning on doing like one People's Choice kind of episode a month. Yeah. So we'll start kind of trying to do that. But yeah, thank you guys for listening. Hope you guys gained something out of this. Let us know what you would like to hear more of. If you guys have any more questions on singleness, marriage, whatever the case may be. As always, music you're listening to is our good friend Kadeem Nichols. Be sure to check him out. All of his info is in the bio below. But until next time, we love you. We'll see you next time.